Perry Orth joining us here. That's not Pat DeMarco, but it is Perry Orth, and we're glad to have him on a Monday. Perry, Carolina Falls 36-33 over the weekend. Your initial reaction to that?
What an unbelievable football game. Yeah, I was able to listen to the last maybe 7-8 minutes of that conversation. You want to blame the game on the refs. Now, it's always hard when the outcome of numerous calls were, revoked points off of the scoreboard for the Gamecocks. But, man, what a great atmosphere. I wish I was there. Game day looked electric. The game itself was. But I think it's tough when you're up 17-0 and you're at home and you blow that lead. And I know the game came down to the wire and there were some terrible calls. The block by Kennard on Nussmeier on the interception. There's some unwritten rules in football, just like there are in baseball. And one of those is that if you make which it wasn't a sketchy play by any means of the word itself, but if you do something that could be potentially called as a penalty, you don't leave your hands up. You don't put them up. You just hit. You make the hit, and you just keep moving. Like if you would have pushed Nussmeier and then turned and ran down the field, was looking all over for whatever, I don't think they make that call. Because if you look at the delay of the flag, they saw Kennard standing over the quarterback, hands up in the air, with Nussmeier looked like he just died.
Made that same point.
Then,
absolutely.
Like the guy y'all just had on. I mean, he. Then you saw like another laundry list of refs. Well, the only reason they threw is because the quarterback was on the ground with the big scary defensive end hands up in the air. So what do you think they think? But they didn't see it. Why they called it, I think, is bullcrap. But 17-point lead and you can't come away with a win. I think that's a hard pill to swallow. But I honestly, I don't want to be the guy with the sunshines and rainbows, but we played our ass off. We put an incredible product on the field. God, my heart hurts for Coach Beamer today. Man, it hurts. And because he had the guys ready to play. And the margin of error in this conference is so thin. And yes, there were so many things in and out of the game. I still firmly believe if Sellers doesn't get hurt, do we win the game? No question about it, in my opinion. But it was like Coach Beamer. I listened to his press conference while holding the baby after the wedding that I attended for 20 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it was a SEC. The phrase that I used last week was a slobber knocker. That's exactly what we got. And God, what a great football game. I just hate we didn't come out on top.
How do you feel like when Sellers went down, what did you notice, if you noticed anything differently about the offense, how it was clicking, play calling, those type things?
Well, I think Sellers gives you a better chance of a passing attack. I think that the way that they called the game, Coach Loggins clearly is not as comfortable for the football with Robbie as he is with Lenoris. Now, I will say Ashford made some great throws. He had some plays he probably wish he had back, but he had a great throw that got called back on a Houdini offensive pass interference call. But as far as the offense goes, it did look a little bit more. It looked a little clunkier. It didn't run as smooth. Now we clearly made an emphasis on running the football, but it's not the same. But I think talent wise, I don't think that Ashford gives you the same ability of a vertical passing game that Lenoris does, and whether that be through gifts or simply because of reps, right? So. I think that they were not playing as efficient as they were in the first half.
All right, so here they are. They're 2-1. Got Akron coming up. Great chance to be 3-1. Get into an off week. Got Ole Miss coming. Perry, but from a player's perspective, this is it's generally easier for players to turn the page than it is for like you feel like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, right? Like nobody hurts worse than the players, but it's also easier for them to move on to the next thing than it is for fans. What's the last 48 hours been like for them as they've kind of tried to readjust things and get ready to go against a non-SEC opponent this week in the Zips?
Yeah, I think, Akron, if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure they played Ohio State pretty tough. So they're going to come in here ready to play, especially knowing that when you lose an emotional game like that, this game has all has all the writings on the wall for us to come out here and be sloppy like we were in week one. Well, what is it like for the players over the last 48 hours? It's a great question. I think a lot of the day after and the day of is a lot of hurt, a lot of heartache, a lot of just because you already hate losing, and then to lose the way you did, and just to be up 17-0 halfway through the second quarter. To feel like you let it slip away when you felt like you had the game in control. But yeah, I mean, there's no downtime for the players' perspective. It's, hey, we're playing Akron in 5 days. I mean, it's just like that. You take, you come in, you watch the film on Sunday, then you get ready for Akron. Today is their day off, but after that, I mean, I know all the guys that are playing are all watching film today, so it's like you can't sit there and dwell on, the game that you had just played in. It's time to move on and get ready and make sure you don't make those same mistakes again. And the encouraging thing for me is that there's a lot that we can improve on. There's a lot of physical mistakes that can be changed and fixed and corrected that you don't ordinarily, and most good teams ordinarily don't do. And I think that we're a good team. I think that we can clean some of the fumbles and maybe some of the penalties. Those things can be corrected, which is really exciting. And then, you look at the way that Georgia and Kentucky played one another, because we were all subconsciously thinking like, well, hey, is Kentucky worth the crap, or did we just have, they're a good football team, man. They're tough. They're blue collar, blue nose. They hard nosed. They play the right way. And we went out there and we whooped them up a little bit. And I think it showed that we do have a good team. A lot to clean up. But it's going to make for a fun football season, because, guys, I really do believe in my heart of hearts that we're going to sneak a few teams that we were projected to lose to down this back half. That's going to make for a really fun October, November. I really do believe that. And I promise you, you guys, I've been doing y'all's show, JB. We've been doing shows together for 8 years, man. And I'm not one to completely, sugarcoat things. And I'm really encouraged about this team. Never have I been more encouraged about the group under Coach Beamer's and under his tenure and his leadership. I think we've got the pieces are there, man. It just hasn't quite gelled, but I do think that it is going to start gelling.
I couldn't agree more, and that's some of the takeaways that I had as well, Perry, and those always kind of sometimes fall on deaf ears when it's coming off a heartbreaking loss. Offensively, I want you to go into Lenoris's day. A lot of good, obviously. A lot of good. The running we already knew about, hit some key throws. And then also what we talked about last week, you have to hold on to the football. Got away with it a couple times against Kentucky. Did not get away with it Saturday. And then I realized it was 3rd and long. I can't remember if it was exactly field goal range, but you kind of just throw one up for grabs, get picked in the end zone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mixed bag, but you certainly see the potential there to continue to become a force.
Yeah, he's it's hard to say because he is so young, but man, he's got every ability that you could possibly dream of as a quarterback. I mean, good Lord, his touchdown run, the burst through the line of scrimmage, and just there was not a person on that field that could catch him.
Only other player I think can do that like the way he did it was Jalen Milroe at Alabama. I don't know another quarterback with that level of explosiveness in college football.
I agree with you. And he just has to realize that his interception, I'm not completely, I think it hung up in the air a little bit and he didn't put it out into the sideline like he really should. I think the receiver could have done a better job of breaking the play up or making the effort to break the play up. But I understand his thought, 3rd and long, hey, like, let's take a shot for the end zone, and if it doesn't work out, it's going to be incomplete. I think that he just left it inside. The fumbles are him trying to extend the play and do too much. I think that he'll learn. I was listening to another show this morning while driving, and they were talking about, does Lenoris have the injury bug? And I mean, it's way too early to even make that assumption, but he's going to start to learn that when you try to extend plays, you are going to get clobbered. And no matter how big or strong you are, there are people that are bigger and stronger than you that want to hurt you. And, you might break that little arm tackle, and it will be smart for him to learn, like, it's better for me to just go down and worry about the next play than maybe I might be able to maybe make this heroic play. And that's where he ended up getting his ankle, broke through a tackle, tried to wiggle out of it, and they came down on his leg. And, we saw him go out for that drive in the second half, but he was not, he was doing us no good at 50%.
The only other thing I noticed, and this might be a little bit nitpicky, but when you're putting everything under a magnifying glass, I'm sure you've picked up on this as well. Some of the just shorter throws, just little screen throws that he's off the mark on. We know he's got a cannon for an arm, but
Yep.
like just a simple out throw, that's a throw you've got to be able to make. In high school, it's wide open. In the SEC, there's a guy that's going to be within the vicinity. So it's tight. So you got to be able to throw it tight. And at times, that's been off the mark.
Yeah, I think it has to do with his just adjustment to the game. I mean, guys, it's difficult when you haven't done it and you're young. I didn't start playing until I was 21, I believe. I was 21 years old. He's only 19. And so he's got some maturity and growth standpoint. I wouldn't attribute that to maybe mechanics. I think that, on some of the screens and some of the throws that need to be layered, it reminds me of, I say this all the time to the kids that I train. Those throws are like those tweener shots on the golf course. It's like you're like 70 yards out. There's not really a club for 70 yards, right? So you've got to put a little touch on whatever club that you're wanting to use for your approach. Well, you can't hit it the exact same way you would at the normal distance if you were 100 yards out, right? So you've got to have a little bit of a touch and a feel, and that comes through repetition. Is you have to practice all of those different throws, and the encouraging thing is because he's so young, he's got time to not only get acclimated to the speed of the game, but get used to making those different throws. And that may not have been their stick in high school, right? Like you said, the difference between high school secondaries and what he has seen the last 3 weeks, you can't even make a comparison. It's so dramatically different as far as scheme and talent that you can't even equate. It's like jumping from kindergarten and going and bypassing elementary school and going right into high school and learning algebra. Well, you haven't had any real baseline understanding. I really do believe it's that dramatic of a jump, and it's just one of those things that's going to take time. But as far as ability and his willingness, and I love listening to him talk and break down his own performance. He's an incredibly self-aware kid, which makes me really encouraged, because even though he has all of those talents and physical gifts, he gets it here. And I'm excited for his future, man. He's fun to watch. I loved getting texts from people around the country watching our game saying, like, holy cow, this quarterback you guys have is a freaking stud. And I second that motion. I remember watching them play in high school being like, if we don't get this guy, they may as well just cancel our football program.
I know we're you got to be out of here in 1 minute, so I want to ask you really, really quickly. You mentioned all the big games that are coming down the stretch. I'm with you. I think Carolina has obviously got a chance to win a handful of those and have a special season even after the loss. And a lot of them are probably going to be pretty tight. And they're going to need old Alex Herrera to get in there and make a big kick. Obviously, he missed that one at the end of the game. That's kind of been lost in some of this with all the officiating issues from Saturday. But what will this team and this program do over the next few days, next couple of weeks to get him where I'm not saying he has lost confidence. I haven't talked to him. I have no idea if he has or hasn't. But they're going to need him to believe in himself when he runs out there to do it again. So what's that process like?
Yeah, you got to flush it and move on. I mean, he missed it by 6 inches, right? I mean, it wasn't
Right.
like he shanked it and wasn't even close. Like he literally, like when the ball left his foot, it looked like it was going to go through, and it just kind of drew a little left, and he just barely missed it. From his perspective, he needs to go out there and drill some field goals and practice, get that confidence up, make some extra points against Akron, and make some kicks. I mean, it just he barely missed it. He made other field goals throughout the day and made other, obviously his extra points and all that. So I don't. If I were him, I wouldn't lose confidence. At the end of the day, you missed a 50-yard game-winning field goal by the length of a football. So yeah. But from the team's perspective, if I were a coach on this staff, because now honestly, I'm getting to the point now where I relate it more from a coach's standpoint than a player's standpoint. But if I was a coach on the staff, I would have the most freaking juiced up energy this week at practice and make sure that these guys know, like, we are a good football team. Let's go have a great week and beat the ever loving piss out of this team. Have a great bye week, rest up and recover, and get ready to put on a performance that the conference will be talking about against Ole Miss at home. The place is going to be nuts, just like it was on Saturday. The fans are going to be ready for Eamon Wari to tear Juice Wells' head off. People are going to be ready for another one of those type games. And we haven't had those games consistently in a long time. And that's what leaves me encouraged. I'm in a really positive place around the program. Now that might change after a month or so, but where we are right now, I mean, we just came up short, and that's part of the game. But yeah, it was just a freaking awesome football game, and I think you guys would all agree with that. I mean, this game had captivated the country. If you go on, like, I think Mike, you said it on social media. Maybe it was Mike. I'm not sure who said it while I was waiting in the other room. Is social media is talking about this game?
Yeah,
that this was the game people watched and talked about on and are still talking about. And to have that kind of platform in Columbia, from what I heard, rocked the house with game day. Everybody here this is a special place, man. And I think that great things can happen. And I really feel that we're on the right path.
For 7 hours on Saturday, Carolina was in the crosshairs nationally of what was big time in college football. If you include game day and that game on ABC at noon, don't sleep on the noon window. People, when the noon comes, we are creatures of habit. We want football. And that was clearly the best game. So whether you were a Carolina fan, an LSU fan, or just somebody who wants to watch a good game, you had the whole spotlight. And game day was like a 3-hour infomercial for Carolina. It's unbelievable. So there's a lot of, I agree, there's a lot of good that can be extracted from that. And you just hope that I'm going to go out on a limb and say after you beat Akron, that you have a good showing against Ole Miss. You want to really get people's attention. You beat Ole Miss now. That'll wipe any bad memories of this game Saturday off of anybody's mind.
Yep. They have ample opportunity for big wins. Obviously, a boatload of them are strung together right after the Zips. Perry, we'll let you run, man. I know you got to get back to work, but can't thank you for jumping in on short notice. Always appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you very soon.
All right, brother. See you guys.
Thanks, man. There you go, Perry Orth.